Good afternoon, everybody, and a very warm welcome to the latest Institute of Financial Accountants National online branch meetings. It's a pleasure to join everybody again. These are now the norm, aren't they? It's a delight to see how well attended these are, and we very much look forward to today's session. I hope everybody's keeping well. I hope everybody's keeping safe, but I also hope, whether it be a haircut, an outdoor meal, a trip to the shops, or a pint, things hopefully are slowly but surely and very safely returning to some form of normality. So welcome to everybody. For those who don't know me, my name is Jonathan Barber. I'm the Head of Business Development for the Institute. Can I start by just running through a couple of housekeeping points? Please bear with us if there are any technical issues today. We will look to resolve those as quickly and as efficiently as possible. I do hope everybody wants to engage, and hopefully everybody wants to ask questions. Can I draw your attention to the Q&A or the chat box facilities, either at the top or the bottom of your screen, depending on how your screen is configured? Please use those if you do wish to make an observation, ask a question, or make a point. I will monitor those throughout the talk. Where pertinent, where really relevant, I will interject, and we'll cover those off there and then. If not, we'll save them up for the end, and we'll cover everything off at that point. Can I ask, raising your hand doesn't help me though, unfortunately. So if there is an issue, if there is a problem, please do use the Q&A and the chat facility. We are recording today's session, and over the course of the next few days, we will get the recording out to all attendees. It's my great pleasure to welcome today's guest speaker, Richard Sims, who I know is known to, no doubt, a good number of members and attendees on this afternoon's webinar. Richard has been a supporter and a partner of the Institute for many years. So, Richard, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Richard is the Managing Director of FA Sims. He's a fellow member of the Institute. He's a chartered accountant, a licensed insolvency practitioner, and an anti-money laundering expert. We hopefully, bit by bit, are beginning to return to normality. But I think it's fair to say that there are probably a number of bumps, and there are probably a number of problems ahead within the business world. So I do believe that today's talk from Richard around your role in supporting clients through financial crisis or insolvency is very timely, and one that I think everybody should probably be aware of. It's about, in my opinion, engaging with experts such as Richard and his colleagues as and when your clients or businesses you're aware of may need support, help, and maybe an insolvency process is a route that would be the best option available. But enough from me. Richard, thank you for joining us. We look forward to the talk over the next 55 minutes. And as I've said to you before we started this afternoon, I will deal with any questions and comments as they come along. But Richard, the floor is yours, and welcome and thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're all keeping well. And a genuine question, that one. I hope everyone is well. I know it's been a tough ride, and I appreciate Jonathan's points there. We're naturally always concerned to look after everyone's well-being as well. I'm delighted that got the chance to have a chat to you all today. In what is kind of on a bit of a cusp, aren't we? We're kind of a transitional moment really now. I think we're on the cusp of making some big changes. The last few times we've seen lockdown unwinding, we've seen quite a quick bounce back of the COVID-19 statistics, we've seen quite a big reversing of success with what lockdown measures and how they've been applied. I'm hopeful that I've had my first jab. I'm not old enough to have had two, but I'm old enough to have had one. So that's quite good. And so I feel like we're making some progress. I guess a lot of people have had their jabs, and a lot of people won't have their jabs, but it will be intriguing to see what happens now. I am optimistic and hopeful that things will be getting back to normal. I was just talking to Jonathan before we started the session today. You know, we're both people who are used to being on the road. I know I've met Jonathan in all sorts of places around the UK at all sorts of obscure times and times of the week and times of the weekend, and we've been out and about doing talks to branches, etc. And it's been strange. It's been very strange times. And one of the key factors is I don't think we actually know what will happen now. A lot of that will rest in your hands, my hands, Jonathan's hands, your client's hands, because I was saying, John, as soon as we finish this meeting today, I'm heading across to our office, which is about half an hour away, to our head office in Lutterworth here in Leicestershire. And I've got my first meeting with a client, first physical meeting with a client for what's going to be over a year now. So very strange times. And, you know, we've dealt with a lot of people, both in terms of clients who we've never met. We've dealt with providers of services to us we've never met. And it's worked, I felt, reasonably well. I'll be intrigued to see what you guys and girls think about how it's been for yourself, and that's whether you think you will be seeing a fundamental change in how you work. I guess that will partly driven by clients, but also partly driven by us. How strong are we going to be about saying we're doing this, this, and this, and how much do people need to physically meet you now? There was a time I thought perhaps some of that resistance to change was potentially generational, where different age groups have wanted to do different things, but that's not been shown to me to be the case. We've had clients of all different ages, sectors, different roles, different locations. Of course, the overseas clients has been particularly helpful, where we've had the ability to do things on video. So I think it's uncertainty. And why am I going on about this? Why is this important to this conversation we're having here, this particular discussion now? Because this is the same thing your clients are facing. Some of your clients, of course, will be physical venues, so they'll be expecting people to physically attend there. Let's say they have a pub or restaurant. Some of them will be shops, which may have been selling largely online in the last 12 months, and they may be deciding whether to go back to having the physical shop or not. Has Amazon and eBay, has that replaced the need for a physical shop if you're not selling something that's immediately consumed? It's not kind of a food or beverage type thing. Do you need that? Well, people want that physical stuff. And it's a bit like going to buy a car now. Talking to friends of mine who run car dealerships, they've been busier than normal selling through online. I look at any car website now, manufacturer website, they're selling almost direct from the website, not even using a dealer to a certain extent. So it's interesting to see where things go to. And I don't have the answer to that question. You don't have the answer to that question. But the point being, your clients will be a bit uncertain what they're facing. Some will have an appetite for change. And of course, change is one of the few things we know will happen. And therefore, we have to have the appetite for it. We've seen a number of clients who have decided to call it a day. I don't mean call it a day necessarily insolvently, but call it a day when they've had enough of their business. They've run their business for a number of years. They've made some money. There's some money left in the company. They've decided it's time to pack their bags and move on and prepare for the next stage of their lives. And those businesses are strong businesses, a lot of those, but they've decided that their own momentum has come to an end for that particular business. It's time to pack the bags and move on. So again, lots and lots of changes coming through. The one thing I do see going forward, and I don't know if you share this view, is there is a huge opportunity for so many different businesses. And you may have caught me talking about this same issue back 12 months ago when we introduced this discussion about agility. And that position is still the same. A strong business now will be an agile business, a business that moves quickly, a business that can change fast, can adopt quickly, respond to changing marketplaces. And I think the same position, as I said some time ago when we first went into lockdown, the business that will be successful in 12 months' time, we may never heard of some of those businesses yet. We may not have heard of them yet because they will be moving into new space at new pace, doing new things. And we may not have anticipated what's coming yet for us. And that's the challenge for us now, is to work out how do we make ourselves light and agile as a business. And you have the same question, we have the same question. We look at ourselves, we've spent the last 12 months, we've rebranded a bit. You may have seen the different logos on the websites we've got now. We've rebuilt the bulk of our websites. We've rebuilt liquidation.co.uk. We've rebuilt insolvency.co.uk. It won't be long, we're redoing insolvency.com. We've done a lot of work on our base. And I'm not trying to be too flippant in saying it's all about the base, because it is. We've got to have that structure in place for us as a business, for your business, for everyone's business. And that will be IT, websites, social media, interaction points. So however you're going to interact with your clients, that's going to be massively important from that side. And so all these questions apply to your clients, because for me, if a client has sat still for the last 12 months, almost like a rabbit in the headlights, it's unlikely they're going to be able to recover quickly enough for what's going to come over the next 12 months. My view is that things needed to move quickly. People should have used the last 12 months, again, in my view, right or wrongly, should have been doing stuff. Okay, it's difficult to say what the stuff might be because every business is different, but things needed to be moving quickly. Even if they've been sat locked down and furloughed, whatever it might have been, for a number of months during the last 12 months, planning, staging, get the next steps in place, massively important from that side, because we cannot afford to be standing still. And I think, coming back to what I said before, the pace of change will just grow and grow and grow. And what clients want will change. I'm hoping for your side, with your kind of accountancy caps on, you'll have seen, and bookkeeping caps, you'll have seen a change in what clients want from you already in the last 12 months. You've been doing a lot of work, no doubt, to do with supporting finance applications. You've had to do furlough things that were new to you. HMRC have moved quickly to adopt to those. There's been a huge amount of things achieved that people said would never have been done. Excuse me. I think in the same way, your clients are facing the same situation. What I'm hoping is that just because you've been locked down and because you've not been physically meeting clients, you've been able to still interact with your clients. Because we know all the things I was talking about, websites, social media, your newsletters, whatever it might be, it's all about communication, isn't it? If you're not communicating with clients, how do you know what they're doing? How do they know what you're doing? And that's our biggest challenge now for us. We're just bringing back our newsletters, coming back into play again. We're working hard to work at how we can communicate with good folk like yourself during this time going forward, because we know, for one thing, you probably experienced the same thing again. If you have been busy in the last 12 months, you've been mad busy, mad busy. The thought that you can do a 9 to 5:30 job, in my view now, in the current situation, appears to be virtually impossible, because your clients no doubt expect an awful lot from you. You may find that you can't find an escape. Now, for me, it's slightly strange, because, and this is not trying to say, oh, wonderful me, but I've ended up working largely 7 days a week for the last 15 plus years, 20 years, just because we do a lot of stuff, a lot going on. I do have a holiday, by the way, I get a chance for a break, but so it's not been a particularly massive change for me, the hours that we've had to work, but the pressure has no doubt built up over that time. The last 12 months has led to pressure, expectation, requirements. And the only way we could respond to that is by working more efficiently. And the same way you will, and this is the same point we're coming to here about your clients working more efficiently. And that means also making sure that their work with you is done efficiently and effectively. This communication, the communication doesn't just mean verbal communication, it means communication of data, information, files in terms of bookkeeping data, etc. A lot of you now, I'm sure, we're working on a cloud-based accounting system. A lot of you are using the cloud with your clients. They are there to make things more efficient. They should stop you having to having to pick things up from cold in 12 months' time. So this is all part of this constant need of change. Now, as you know, some of you will know, we do AML/CC, so AML is a big part of the work we do as well. And I talk to a lot of accountants who tell me, I want to give this up, I want to walk away, I'm giving the whole thing up. This compliance, this AML, everything is just a pain in the whatever. Well, I can't stop that being the case. I can't take AML away, I can't take compliance away, I can't take anyone's clients away. And I think my point is, don't give up, adjust, adapt, change. That's what we have to do. That applies to you whether you're 20, 25, 40, 45, 60, 65, 70, wherever you might be. That change is now going to be normal. That pace of change will be normal. And if you, as we'll come on to the talk, we'll get on to talk soon, by the way, guys. I just wanted to get this background in place. If you can work out how you can most effectively communicate with your clients in a way that suits you, because there is no rule book for this. It's the same for AML. Someone says to me, well, how do I run my practice for AML? Well, you run your practice and AML works around you. You know, it's getting the structure right. It has to work for you as a practice in the same way. Your communication with your clients has to work for you. So you have to work out a structure that you can, that works into your working plan, works into your strengths and weaknesses. That's really, really important from that side. And so why is this so important? Again, it's all about the base, as I said before. That base structure you need to have in place. Your base to work from is how you will work with your clients. The more you decide how you want to work with your clients, how you're going to communicate with them, the more you can begin to understand how you can help them most as well. Because if I sit here and tell you, I think I know exactly what your clients need, you're going to laugh at me, aren't you? You're going to laugh at me and say, Richard, you've got no idea what you're talking about. I don't know what your clients need because I don't know what your clients are doing. I can't imagine that. I have to have a conversation with them to understand what they do need, to understand them, to understand how they work, understand them as people. And that's where your skill set comes in, is you've got that relationship with those clients. So let's see how we can make sure you have that relationship that works for you and make the best of that relationship, okay? Communication is the key, what suits you best, how you get your clients to work with you, of course, on terms you can work with, but also in a way that clients can be kept informed, what's happening, you can understand them, work closely with them. That's where business rescue, crisis management, insolvency management, all those things come from, is that communication. That communication, because I'll give an example. I'll move on in a second, guys. Give an example. Conversation I had this morning with a client. In fact, the conversation with an accountant I've known for many, many years. He rang me up and said, I've got a client who needs some help. And in this situation, they'd ceased to trade already, so there wasn't a lot of option to do much with them. But the client had already contacted a different insolvency practitioner, someone they thought would be local to them in Nottingham. It turned out they weren't local in Nottingham, they were elsewhere. But the point being, the client hadn't realized the accountant could help them with that type of support. Now, that's an example of, do your clients know where you can help them? Are you missing out on opportunities where you could help them? So these are all massively important stuff on that side. The communication is so important. And one of my big frustrations at the moment is having to make decisions about what I can and can't do. I'm very much so, I want to do everything. I want to do everything now, as people said to me. No, I can't do everything now. We have to do whatever we can do in the time frame available, the resources available. That's the most frustrating thing for me. We can't do everything I want to do straight away. So we have to work out our priorities, have to work out how we use our time most effectively. And that's the challenge we're all facing at the moment. We've certainly got uncertainty in front of us. Let's see. Right, move on to slides, guys. Apologies for that. Really important. I should say, by the way, any questions at all? I can see the Q&A and I can see the chat. I'll try and lift my head up to keep an eye on that as well. I know Jonathan said he will scream and shout if anything comes up to ask on that, but please do feel free to fire anything across you want to. Just let us know. It's very much a session for you guys. I'm going to tell you what I think could be useful for you to know, but if there's anything you'd like to know, stick a question over, give me a shout, no problem at all. And then, if it can make it as focused for yourself as possible, please do. Again, if you want to share some thoughts, I'm interested as well, because I'd love to know whether you think you will be going back to the same level of client physicality. Will you be meeting people in person as much as you were? If anyone thinks that they will or won't, please drop a quick note through there. Just say, yeah, I think it will be. Yeah, no, it won't be. I'll be intrigued to see what you think. because we need to have some idea of what you're thinking. It'd be interesting because you perhaps don't realize your colleagues would be interested here as well, because they don't know what you're thinking, because you probably don't have a chance to see them any more than I've seen them. We've had phone calls, etc. So the more you can say you do and don't want to see people, you think you'll be changing, share it on that forum, let everyone see, let's have a conversation about it, because it'd be helpful for people to know whether they're going off on a tangent on their own thinking they're going completely mad, or they think actually we're doing what everyone else is doing, or similar to what the people are doing. So please do share any thoughts you want to. See it very much in the discussion, guys, if you can do, please. Fantastic. Right. We should now move on to slide 2. We're doing okay. Fantastic. So we've got how to identify crisis on the horizon for your client. Well, very important stuff, of course. Very important stuff on that side. And we've been talking about this a bit more from there. I've got a couple of comments coming through here on the, I think on the discussion about how much you'll be meeting clients physically. Paul Johns, hello, Paul. Thank you for that. Saying basically doesn't think they will be doing as much as they were. There'll be more Zoom calls, more video calls, because you can still interact with people. I mean, I haven't seen Jonathan for a year, but I think we've lost each other too much, Jonathan. We're still get on okay. We're doing okay because
we're still talking. That's all right. Yeah,
we've been on team calls in the last 12 months, but that's important. I do think to a certain extent, the social bit will be the meaty bit, the bit where you physically meet someone. That'll be the time you get a chance to have a chat and a laugh and whatever. And then there'll be the work bit. I think what we might do is have to split those two out a little bit more. And we'll have to work out, let's say if it's going to be a conference, do we need more networking time in the conference? Do we need more time, more events the night before, for example, if people have traveled? So we have that, there is an opportunity for people to get together, have a drink perhaps the night before. I don't mean necessarily an alcoholic drink, but a drink and a chat, and a bit more networking time in the day. Or, you know, because the physical, the CPD bit, if I'm calling it that, the educational bit can be delivered very effectively, I would say, in this type of environment. If it can't be, well, let me know, and I'll talk to Jonathan. We'll see if we can make things better. But I think a lot of this can be done this way, but there still has to be some social interaction. There still has to be the need to physically meet up with people, still have the opportunity to interact with people. And again, as I said before, it's good to know what other people are thinking, because how do you judge yourself in a forum of 20,000+ accounting businesses in the UK? How do you know where you stand with that? Are you in a similar situation? Very important from that side. So again, please let me know your thoughts. If you have any thoughts come across, please do. Okay. So this is kind of partly recovering the bits we just touched on before. So I haven't drank now. I'm too busy talking, running out of breath too early on the session. That's no good, is it? So we talked about I've talked about how unsure I am of the future. And I'll perhaps reiterate this a bit more, just a particular point, because what will happen when furlough comes to an end? Now, some businesses are back in action this week, therefore their furlough is stopped. Will there be enough income? How much pent-up demand? And I was talking to the client earlier on today. And they were saying they popped out locally for a meal the night before, Monday night, wasn't it? And saying that the places are absolutely rammed shut, full of people going out. There is this demand, this pent-up demand to do stuff. Will it be enough? Have your clients done enough to make sure it's their place they go to, their shops they go to? What have they done to keep that alive, keep the interest going, to keep the customers involved? There's an interesting piece on the BBC in the week. There was a gym, I couldn't see where it was based actually, an independent gym, and said how hard they've worked over the lockdown period to keep communication running with their membership and keep them happy with stuff to do, exercises on their own, that sort of thing, to keep the relationship going from that side and keep people keeping fit and healthy. So lots of things have changed on that side, very important. Undoubtedly, I would say there are businesses who are waiting to see what happens still. When does furlough run out? When does the bounce back money run out? When does the SEISS money run out? So when does it get to a point where actually the government pot of cash that has been available has run out? What happens then? Will there be enough demand? And of course, you don't know that. I don't know that. Your client certainly doesn't know that. And so I need for you guys, if you can, guys and girls, please, to be in a situation where you are in communication with those clients, ready to, or they know they can contact you if there's a problem. And they know they can look at that and review the situation. You can help them. We'll come on to some of the areas where you can help them a bit further through the slides as well, if that's okay. So massively important communication comes through from there. So yes, I think personally, people are waiting for the government support to run out, and they'll see what happens. Again, if you have any contrary views, please let me know. Drop a note through. Interested to have a look. Now, will there be more government support? Well, I said at the very beginning of the talk that I'm optimistic. Again, wonder what you think. Will it be a question that we will still have another bounce? Will there be another lockdown? Will it bounce back in a bad way again, or will it move on in a positive way? I think we are hopefully with the vaccines doing a positive thing, but of course we don't know that. So can we say we no further government support? Well, we can't say that for certain. It's already been extended perhaps to a level I thought would never be possible. So that's great. We've got as much support in place as we can do. Has it been effective? Well, it has to have been effective. It has to have been keeping people in income, with income coming in and funding around the back of it. So lots of things going on from that side to support. So very good from their side. And there's no doubt, as I mentioned back in a year ago, the businesses that might otherwise have had to come to a crashing halt have been given an opportunity to take a breath and have a longer lifespan and have the support of the government backup. Does it mean they've managed to change themselves during that period of time? Well, time will tell. Will they have they managed to reinvent themselves in that 12 months, or are they going to just fall over where they might have fallen over 12 months ago? Again, we'll wait and see what comes out of there. Message here from John Bland. Hello, John. I have a mixture of clients with different IT skills. Some are happy with remote meetings. Some prefer mask to mask. Okay, I like that. Very good. Age is not a factor, purely IT skills. Interesting, isn't it? So I wonder how much time you've had to spend teaching clients to use different bits of IT. I know I've had some longer calls spent getting people set up from that end to be able to work, but I think it's intriguing stuff, isn't it? I can see the IT issue. I can see that being a challenge in some ways. I'm hoping that like a lot of things, once you've done it once, it's not such a problem anymore now, once you've got that first setup. So hopefully once you have those first calls, progress is being made from there, from that side. There's a note coming in here saying, please advise on BBL loans, BBL as accounts. Do we treat them as long-term loan? It's more of an accounting question there, Sangaravel. So my apologies, I couldn't answer that one for you. Not being an accounting person. Anyone perhaps maybe pick that back up with Jonathan at the end of that one?
Richard, I'll take a screenshot of that and come back to that one. So
brilliant. Okay, thank you, Jonathan. Perfect. Okay, great. Slightly outside my skill set, sadly. Though I'm an accountant, haven't done accounts for a long time, so some may say that's good, maybe some may say it's bad. Who knows? But there we go. So moving along now. So again, you may pick this up. It's now a year or so, or coming up for a year old now. June 26th will be a year old. That is Corporate Insolvency and Governance Act. Where you'll see that perhaps more than anything at the moment is that the winding up petitions are still restricted. Winding up petitions are still restricted until 30th of June this year. So once 30th June is over, winding up petitions that are connected to COVID-19 related debts or the inability to pay could be related to COVID-19 factors, that will pass at the moment. So as far as we know, end of June, that will disappear and winding up petitions will begin again. So there'll be a more of a kick in of flow of winding up petitions going through. Now, bearing in mind, winding up petition typically used to have around about a 3-month window from petition being presented to hearing. There will be a length of time while that begins to kick in. So look out for that. Look out for any clients who've been under pressure from their customers and see if they might find things moving on. Things might move back on again. The tap might be turned back on from that side. It'll be interesting to see what comes out from there. So I'm going to finish this slide off and I'll come back to a question there from Johnson. Has Corporate Insolvency and Governance Act worked? It's certainly given more breathing space. I think it works in the context of having the full government support package in place, the BBLs, etc., in place, furlough, etc. So I think it's just helped to give breathing space. If we go back to the very, very beginning of the lockdown, this was sort of March last year, then the discussion was about deferring the problem, wasn't it? It was all about pushing the problem along, kicking the can down the road, and that's not meant to be derogatory, but it is about pushing the problem along. Now, I think if the goal of SIGAR, as it's known, was to, that's Corporate Insolvency Governance Act, was to push the problem away, push the problem along. I think it's had a good role in doing that, giving more confidence to people, but the truth of it won't really be known until we get into, I guess, this point forward, I suppose, this next 3 quarters this year. Intriguing to see what happens. Intriguing comes out from there. So I'm just going to pick up a couple of questions, then come up, guys, we can do, please, guys and girls. There are some companies who obtain, Mr. Johnson, there are some companies who obtain BBL but are affected by R35 and now want to close the business. What can you advise? Well, again, a very good question, that one. It's something we come across quite a lot. And what we're having to do, and I'll try and summarize this point quite briefly because it could be quite a long discussion, this one. But IR35, as you're aware, this would have been, I imagine this is going to be a contractor, been working for, let's say, a UK bank as an IT contractor, was earning X, Y, and Z good money every month. And then suddenly the tap's turned off, the work's gone. There's no way of, been looking for new work, can't get new work. So they've gone to the government and said, well, their wage was only about £6 a year, for example, so furlough's not as good to them. It's not sole trader income, so there's no SCISS for them. And so they've had to turn to the bounce back loan for that money. Now, if that money has been used to support the individual's standards of living, shall we say normal standard of living during that time, where it would otherwise have been supported from income from the work they were doing, I simplistically, and I'm pleased that put this down in writing, but simplistically, what else could they have done? Now, if they were planning to go back to work, of course, which is one of the key things, the bounce back loan was the intention to continue to trade, provided the intention to trade was there when the bounce back loan was taken out. Again, that deals with that issue. A loan should not have been taken out for bounce back loans if there was no intention to continue to trade. So provided they were looking to work and hoping to work and subsequently found that the work wasn't there, that's a different conversation. Where you might find a broader issue, and I'll keep this answer very short now, is that if there was a liability for corporation tax, for example, that was outstanding from, say, a year before that hasn't now been paid, there would have to be at least some investigation, review of the cash flow, because if the company was significantly insolvent previously, as I said a few slides ago, if the company was insolvent some time ago, then there's a different issue to address. It would have to be clear on segmenting the points of insolvency during the course of the life of the client. So to answer the question, yes, we're seeing quite a lot of clients that would have been contractors who are no longer able to contract, can't get the income coming in, have had bounce back loans, have used them for legitimate purposes. Don't see a big issue with that. As long as we're clear, we'll talk about bounce back loans in a sec, but we have to be clear the bounce back loans have been used for business purposes, for relevant purposes, for want of a better description. Okay. 2 more questions to jump onto now. Just conscious of time for everyone as well. Having exhausted all available accessible funding, furlough, BBL, factoring, etc., when should a client ideally start insolvency protocols in the face of dwindling income, which is becoming insufficient to cover outgoings? Well, I think actually the answer to the question is in the question to a certain extent, in that income which has become insufficient to cover outgoings. So if there is no realistic opportunity to recover the income back in again, and the losses are not being covered from some sort of support plan or from existing funds, that's the time to seek help, because the client could be criticised for digging the hole deeper. If they can see no way of getting better, see no way of rescuing the situation, they should get some advice at that point in time. So I think the description you've given there, Ollie Bunny, is going to be to do with the right time to get advice. When the cash is run out and the loss is getting bigger and there's no plan or executable plan to resolve the situation, that's the time to get help. I hope that helps a bit there. So definitely that's the right time. This sounds like the right time to get help. Okay. Kashif, we've got businesses are still moving out of the lockdown. The BBL repayments are starting very soon. Absolutely. What's your opinion on how BBL repayments could contribute to further insolvencies? Well, I think the government has tried to give, am I right in saying that it can be extended up to 10 years now for bounce back repayment? They've given as much help as they can to support that. So I hope that that's within that. I'm not sure the BBLs will contribute to the insolvency itself as a sole cause, but it could well be a contributory factor. because there's going to be a situation where if things are that tight on a restart, it may be that the situation cannot be resolved. And we come back to, and we'll touch on this in a second, what we call the kitchen table business rescue plan, which is a little thing put together just to help clients to be able to see and map their position. So we're basically saying, take a look at where business is today, take a look at where the business wants to get to, and look at how big a step it is. If that step is too big, the business might need to change its company and have a new company and make significant changes to achieve that. Or if the change is slight, it could well be able to change itself within its existing company. So kitchen table business rescue, basically just a review of where the business is today, where it wants to get to, and how big the steps are to get between those two steps. Okay, how big is the leap to go between those two steps? Okay. Hope that answers those questions. Okay, but again, please do. If you're not linked in with me or don't have a contact details or anything, let me know. Myself and the team are always happy to have those conversations with you. It's it's important. We are here to empower you to do your job as best you can do in the same way as you help us as well. So it's just very much a two-way flow. Okay. So we're kind of touching this a bit, but let's just cover the points off, make sure I've not missed anything. Talk about communication. Hence the point we were talking about before. You have to have this communication in place in the first place. You know what's going on with them. If they don't engage with you, how far do you go? How far do you try? How much time do you have to ring a client up and say, how are you getting on? How many of you have the time to do that in the last 12 months, to actually pick the phone to a client just saying, they haven't prompted you, they haven't come to you for anything, actually pick the phone to them and say, how are you getting on? Drop an email, how is this going for you? Now actually, and that sounds ridiculous, but if you are a business who's struggling and they are becoming more and more locked into themselves because of the worry and the concern, that phone call, that email might just be what they need to have a conversation with someone to help them understand what they can do, to help them understand how you can help them in the first place and how perhaps we could work as a team to help them if the position is more serious. But what can you do? That communication. How many people have you actually contacted? I'm interested in how many of you would actually say, oh, I picked the phone to a client who had not contacted me and not initiated that contact. Interested to see how that is. And I wonder how many people would say they've done that. Because those clients are probably the personalities that aren't necessarily the most communicative in themselves. They may be brilliant at what they do, but communication with the outside world, with their advisors, may not be their strongest point. And that's the point where you could potentially help them more if you can find the time to do so. I know it's cost, I know it's time, all those things, but if you can help them to unlock their situation, bring them into discussion, you're almost getting to a point where you're consulting with them to help them in that situation. And it's massively important because, and I know it's been said to be an issue for the younger generations over lockdown, this increased pressure on mental health well-being, but lots of businesses owners who are not just youngsters, so to speak, have had significant issues as well. There's no doubt that the pressure is tremendous, and I appreciate that you can't do everything. I watch, there's quite a lot of paperwork, kind of stuff comes out from the IFA's parents in Australia. They put a lot of stuff out about mental health and things, and so I definitely think there's something that, there's areas where we have to be careful, of course, where our skills are, but communication with your clients, just imagine how they might feel if they don't know what to do, if they're panicking, they don't want to help, they don't know what to do next. So how can we help them between us? Let's see what we can think about and do that if we can do. Really important, get that stuff going from there. Okay. A couple of points coming through here. There must be, without a shadow of a doubt, at least a monthly catch-up on their present and future performance. Phone calls work. Yeah, Paul, John, thanks, Paul, again. This is Paul saying the benefit of going outreach to clients, going out saying, right, I'm going to contact the client, how they're getting on. I'm going to be the initiator of contact. Really important thing to do, and I think something to have in mind. Okay. Really good point here from Jan. Thank you for that. We've contacted all of our clients to ensure they are aware of funding available. That's fantastic. Really, and agree here. Agreeing, good point. So that's great. I think I'm delighted you're saying that, because it's what I'd want. If you were my accountants, I'd want to know you were looking out for me as well, because actually what it's done is changed your position slightly. You're no longer just I use this term figuratively as well as literally, but lots of people say, you're just my accountant, you're just my bookkeeper. What's happened in the last 12 months, no one is just anything anymore now. You are a fundamental part of making their business work. That's where I think many accountants have been for many years, but I think it's just helped to expand and put a kind of a canvas over what's been going on to give more depth to it and explain to people what's happened. So that's been massively important from that side. And I hope some of you have seen your relationship with clients change in the last 12 months, your outward view of clients has changed in the last 12 months, and your outward view of you and how other people see what you do has changed as well. So I hope that's a really strong point. So great news. Okay. Yeah, you're going to be discussing some tough questions with clients that are about it. They're not going to just have all the answers. You won't have all the answers either. And that's where we're going to help you from that side as well. So be there to talk about stuff. And I say, I'll always go back and I will always try and encourage you to look at the Kitchen Table Business Rescue. It's called the Kitchen Table Business Guide. It's on our FACN's website. And it's just a chance to break things down a bit and break the business down, look at how it can be rebuilt, what changes are needed. But that change is required to at least consider, even if it's reconstructed to be the same thing it was before, the deconstruction and reconstruction process is massively important from that side. Okay, really important there. Okay, discussing other questions. Yes. Again, the earlier help is going to help. Early help would be positive, of course, because you've had this relationship and talking to yourselves there. People are saying they've been in contact. And then the chap come here, Abdul Karim's come and said, we keep our clients up to date with all current changes. As you rightly said, we're no longer accountants, now more like a mentor to guide them to survive. Well, fantastic. I mean, that is such good news for me to hear that. I'm sure good news to all of you accountants out there, all the guys and girls on the call here who've been working their socks off the last 12 months thinking, am I the only person doing this? Am I the person feeling this extra pressure? I think what we're saying is you're all feeling that pressure. You're all feeling that change. And that's a positive thing. Positive thing for the IFA as well, isn't it, guys? Really, really positive thing that you want to take this forward in a positive, dynamic fashion. So massively important as an organisation, because that's what will lift the body up as well, to have all the people involved with it that want to do stuff, want to do positive stuff. So yeah, really, really important stuff from there. Fantastic. Good news. Thank you. Okay. A lot of this will be familiar to you guys and girls, hopefully. Is a client insolvent? Two tests of insolvency. I'll just pick up this very quickly. It comes back to one of the first points about the R35 questions that came out. Cash flow test. Cash flow test is if the company cannot pay those it owes money to, as and when that payment is due, they are technically insolvent. Can't pay when the money's due. Okay, that is going to be a sign of insolvency. Very important from that side. Yes, you can renegotiate that. That's fine if it's been renegotiated, like a HMRC time to pay, whatever. Then the debt has been re-established. The debt time frame has been re-established. So fantastic. That problem goes away temporarily. But cash flow test very important there. Balance sheet test, more technical perhaps than the cash flow test, but it means that the bottom half of the balance sheet is heavier than the top half, and so there is a hole in the balance sheet. Really important from that side. So we need to keep an eye on that. And those two things, I think you're probably going to see the cash flow stuff more importantly now. And what you're going to see, I think, potentially is a draw for you guys and girls to present more current information, more cash flow information to clients. And that applies whether you're doing bookkeeping work or accounting work. You're being drawn. I remember this, boy, it's epic, guys. I remember when I was first doing this years and years ago, I used to get a call from the accountants, probably around about April time, sort of, yeah, something like that. They're just in the accounts for the previous year. So let's say the accounts to March 12 months before then, and they've recognised the problem. So that problem now is at least 12 months old. It's too late to do anything about it. You've got the ability now with cloud bookkeeping, with the clients looking for assistance, to address an issue now. Don't wait for it to build up and become a problem. Deal with it straight away. Address it, put a positive plan of action in place, make it good, make it work. The closer you are to your clients' day-to-day operations, the more you can help them. That's why I've said for many, many years, bookkeeping is a really, really important part of what you do. If you're seeing a client at the end of 12 months, it's too late to make a positive impact in many ways, many cases. Okay. I'm conscious of time, so I'll keep the pace moving now on the slides because I know there's a few to go through, but I know also we've covered a lot of the ground in the general discussion. Okay, very important on that side. We touched a bit about financial, about mental, client person. We talked a bit about mental health issues. It's an area that's always been very close to my mind, because I see and I talk to people about how their friends or family or accountants tell me how an individual has changed in perception to other people. It's very difficult for someone under a lot of pressure in a negative position because of poor performance of the business, whatever, outside of their control, to have the same impetus at getting new work, for example, the same impetus in front of clients and their customers, because it's difficult to carry that same persona once you're down with that. And it would be, if the more people know you closely, the less they see it, because it moves more gently. If someone you haven't seen for 3 months, you might see it more evidently. And so you can bring that extra view in, that this person is a bit different to where before. What's led to that? Why are they not the same person? Where's the happy-go-lucky? Where's the chit-chat? Where's it gone to? What's led to that? Can you understand? If it's business pressure, it can be helped. Things can be done. Okay. There are a huge number of options for companies and businesses or through a restart. They still want the clients running. They still want to be operational. Okay. Really important from that side. Okay. I hope you can all hear me. So I just had a little flash of my screen saying my internet is unstable, but I hope you can still hear me. Please flag up if you can't.
Richard, you're all right. You did freeze for a very short period, so no, but you're loud and clear now.
Good news. Sorry, guys, I'm back. Can't go yet. Just a few minutes to go anyway. We've got about 10 minutes to go. I'll wrap up then. So perfect. Okay. Yeah. So look at the change in the individuals you're dealing with. Look at how it's affected them. Person. Let's say it's affecting you, of course. Don't forget that you've been under a lot of pressure. Discuss it with people. Discuss it with people you know. Make sure they recognise the change. They understand that. And of course, you're helping them as well. It's a two-way thing. Communication again, really, really important on that side. Okay. Personal guarantees. Well, we know bounce back loans can't have personal guarantees. That's a big positive. We know the SEIS is a grant. That's positive as well. Okay. But look out for personal guarantees. Look out for the precedent income. And going back to the IR35 question that was asked earlier, if clients don't address a situation where they have got a loss-making business, that gets worse, that's where they could be criticised. Okay, that's where the problems could come. So taking action when the problem's been spotted, really, really important side, really important there. And doesn't then the risk of it overflowing to become a personal liability is much less then. Okay. Dividends we talked about many times over before. If you've ever been to a talk I've given before, dividends are really important. Look out for dividends. Had a conversation with the guy this morning. He had he'd been earning for the company historically. His business had been largely turned off, if not, well, turned down rather than turned off. He was still drawing dividends. He was going to have to close his business down. He had a bounce back loan, but again, difficult for me to see the normal criticism of dividends being in place, because how else would they have got paid? And so that's an interesting question to see. But generally, dividends from a solvent company should not be paid out, because there's basically the dividend becomes illegal. But again, it's a slightly different situation we have now with the unraveling of the bounce backs and the lockdown and the conditions of COVID-19. So again, we're interested to see if we talked about this again in 6 months, what will have happened there, what will it look like. Okay, but just look out for anything obvious like taking dividends when they shouldn't, when the company's insolvent to doing so. Okay, look out for dividends. Paying lumps of money back to people they know, paying family members back, be very careful. There are a few cases there actually we've seen people taking a bounce back loan and using money immediately to pay back a family member. Now there is an argument that's okay, because if the loan is a lower rate of finance to what they were paying before, there is an argument that could work for a bounce back loan. But again, be conscious of what's been done. What's the circumstances for that? Has that repayment of that loan meant that the company can no longer trade? So again, has that transaction led to insolvency? So again, it's all wrapped up in this sort of rather complicated ball of each situation. So every situation will be different. Okay. An overdrawn loan account is basically a debt from the directors of the company. Look out for that. And wrongful trading, we've mentioned very briefly before. There were some changes brought through from the Corporate Governance and Solvency Act, which has taken to the wrongful trading away, but we're now back in action with that. So be careful from that. Okay. Right, I've got about 5 minutes. I'm going to flick through the rest of the slide very quickly. I'm sorry I haven't got into as much detail as I hoped to on a few points, but we've got the theme going that people know we need help. If we need help, we're going to be the people to help there. You're going to be there working with clients. Really important on that side. Okay. Got these different options we talked about. We talked about King Table Business Rescue. Can you work with your client to help them restructure, work out what they need to do? How far can you go? Can you help them more? Can you help them through the restructuring and in the formal way? Fantastic, you can. Fantastic. If they need something more formal, where it's outside of your qualification remit, again, we can help with you, work you through that, try and work the clients through. Okay. Talk about King Table Business Rescue. Have a look on the website if you can do. Worth having a look at that. Forecasting, massively important, of course. Modelling is what we're talking about, getting that right, very important on that side. Negotiation, a lot of that's been done, been very successful in many cases. Flexibility. Flexibility is agility, I've talked about, isn't it? It's about speed of movement. Okay. Question here from Ali Bundy. What should the accountant do when the client fails to heed advice or take action when insolvency becomes obvious? Well, I think you've probably done all you can do to a certain extent. And you've told the client that they should stop it. I would make sure you try and email that to them or put some sort of document to them to confirm you have recommended to them that you feel that you've covered yourself, because it's not uncommon that directors come to us who have not come through an accountant. The first thing they say is, my accountant's rubbish. And there's no truth in that. She's looking for someone to blame. So important you document your advice to your client to make sure you cover yourself off. I hope that helps. Okay. A couple of minutes then. So some of the business rescue options we've got here. Voluntary arrangement. You may have come across this as a restructuring of debt in a very formal way. I've got that client seeing this afternoon, looking at restructuring some debt they have there. Very similar. It will be a very similar conversation to what we've just had now. Company administration, slightly more fundamental. Often they use the pre-pack administration, which is a start and stop. So has to be a reasonable sized business to warrant the cost and publicity that comes with a pre-pack or administration. So more of a bigger client of yours. Creditors voluntary liquidation, used a lot to close the business. Close a company to allow the business to restart. So it's not impossible to do that. So basically, company could be closed, business restarts through a certain process. That's where liquidation comes in to make sure that works properly. Okay. Question here from Ahmed. Can client buy another business with BBL and justify it as business expensive? Well, buying another business. Well, provided the client's buying a business that is going to generate sufficient profit to pay the BBL back, and the business stays in a strong position, then makes sense. Makes sense. It's using funding for a positive way. If you look at it, there are a lot of businesses that have taken business bounce back loans, for example, and taken those to do good in their business. They haven't taken it because they're on the cusp of collapse, and they've taken it for positive stuff, to invest in IT kit, to invest in technology, to invest in staff, to invest in projects. So BBLs don't have to be seen through negative only. There's no doubt they are being used for a very positive way, and they will have I've said at the very beginning, there's a huge opportunity in the marketplace at the moment. A lot of that will have been funded by government funding. People will take that money to use in a positive way. So yeah, we use it in a positive way. Why not use government support in a good way? That's a really strong thing. Okay, where are we now? Formal solutions. So I won't spend too long on CVAs now. I'll leave the notes on here I'll make sure the notes are available for through Jonathan at the end. If you grab these, you want to. If you haven't seen a CVA, again, have a look at this. It's a way of basically recapturing everything together, lifting out the debts of the company, freezing them over here while the business carries on running over there. And that means that basically the new company, the new part of the business going forward, ties money back into the old pot to pay for that. So the CVA keeps the same company running, just to clarify that, keeps the same company running, but it takes a set of old creditors away, puts them to one side and pays them off over time. Okay, very important thing to do, very positive. Not a huge amount of use in all fairness, but they are very positive when used correctly. Okay. Company administration, as I say, it's very powerful, it's very protective, can allow things to move very quickly. Okay. We've done one of these light touch administrations ourselves as well, where basically the company continues under the director's management and we kind of sit almost at the top of it. So this light touch administration, we've done one of these which worked really well. Actually, we've created a significant return for creditors that wasn't there before. That sort of style of work, so it can be very helpful from there. So that's good. To pick up this one question I've got here, what would you do if you suspect a client is closing a business and opening a new business to avoid debts? Well, Alan, your question there is an important question. The question is, when we talk about is whether we're avoiding debts, the company has to be insolvent to close, first of all. We can't go to an insolvent procedure without being insolvent. If the client is looking to close a business because they can't pay debts, then they mustn't continue if they can't pay, because they mustn't make the position worse. So I think to answer your question with a question would be to understand the reasons why the existing business isn't working. There are a number of restrictions within a liquidation, which has the benefit of stopping people from taking advantage of liquidation. It is there to make sure the steps are taken properly. So provided they follow a liquidation process, Alan, with a licensed practitioner, that will ensure what the steps are taken are correct, if that helps. Okay, fantastic. A couple of minutes to go. Pre-pack, you may have seen him in the press. We've seen a few, particularly last summer, we saw quite a few big restaurant chains and retail chains go through pre-packs. They've dropped out of the existing company's new one. So very much what you're talking about there, Alan, but in a larger way to what we're talking about, where effectively they've taken a big company, they've lifted out the good bits, dropped into a new company, and left the rest behind. And that is unfortunately what insolvency law allows to happen if done correctly and if the process is followed correctly. Okay. Creditors voluntary liquidation, the most popular, if I can use the expression popular, of insolvency processes. Okay. One of the oldest ones around and very effective. Don't just see CVL, voluntary liquidation, creditors voluntary liquidation as the end of the road for the company. Okay, the business can survive through the liquidation. The business can leave the old company behind and start again in a new business when done correctly. Okay, as I said, there can be a restart, but we do not see it as a negative thing completely. Okay. Start afresh, which is what I'm just talking about here, is basically the ability to restart a business through liquidation if required. Okay. Compulsory liquidations, as I mentioned before, come the 30th of June or 1st of July, they're back on the cards again. We're going to see more action from creditors in that perspective. Solvent liquidation, we're doing a lot of MVLs at the moment for IR35 clients. We've got a really good team running this through, very good prices from 995 plus VAT and third-party costs for that. So don't think clients can't take advantage of that still. Use the business asset disposal relief and get them through that. Get them, they'll thank you for it. They'll make a big saving on that. Okay. How we can help? Well, this is who we are. That's me. If you haven't joined me on LinkedIn before, please do. Love to see you out there if we can, guys. Guys and girls, fantastic. Please stay in touch. Hopefully we'll get some more of these talks going soon. There's some of our websites I mentioned. We've rebuilt all of these over the last 12 months to make them absolutely bang up to date, make them as understandable as possible. So if you need to send a client to have a look for information, want to learn about liquidation, want to learn about insolvency, want to learn about insolvent liquidation, of course, want to learn about money laundering yourselves, have a look on the websites. A huge amount of information on there, designed to be simple, understandable. At which point in time, I say thank you to everyone. Appreciate your time. Really appreciate your time on a busy day. I know how busy everyone is and how much is going on. Do stay safe and well. I hope to meet you all physically in the near future, but I hope we do some more of these as well. But good luck to everyone. Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Jonathan. Fantastic.
Richard, thank you very much indeed. I'm just looking, you might have covered this, so apologies if I'm picking up on this question late, but what should the accountant do when the client fails to heed advice or take action when insolvency becomes obvious?
This is the one I think, Jonathan, best if they do try and document their advice to the client, because the risk here is that if they don't document it, we've had clients, unfortunately, of ours, they've come to us not through the accountant, and they moan about the accountant. Of course, it's not really moaning about the accountant, it's just basically moaning about somebody. Yeah. So if at least there's a document from your end, you know you covered yourself off. So yeah. I'd certainly always try and put something in writing to cover that off if possible. Okay. So you've tried to help the client out correctly, so they can't turn around and say you never did anything to help me.
No, thank you. That's very useful. Richard, more for you. Thank you. Thank you once again. Thank you for a very comprehensive presentation. So, on behalf of all attendees this afternoon, thank you, Richard. I think it's interesting. You set a scene at the very beginning, because I think more than ever, that's probably needed given the climate that we find ourselves in. And then you've run through a number of slides with some very valuable information in. There's some questions coming through, so rather than me talk, is it possible to share a recording in mail address? Yeah, to Imrul, who asked that question. My colleague who deals with all of the technical side of our webinars and our meetings, she's on annual leave this week, but we will pull that together at the beginning of next week, and to all attendees we will send a recording of today's session. Richard, I think you already alluded to the fact that we could share your slides, so we will send those. Yeah. There is a question here though from Kishore, Richard.
No
If we
problem, saw that.
introduce you, to do the insolvency, does it cover on your PI insurance?
I think the answer to that one is no, for sure, basically, to be blunt. To the extent that we have our PI insurance covers our advice, and your PI insurance will cover your advice, that helps.
Yeah.
So that hopefully is how that would work in my view anyway. I don't know any different to that. So
No.
hopefully that helps out there.
I would see it that way. I think I've answered that one on a copy of the slide, so that's good. You know, for me, Richard, listening, I think I'd noted what I saw as key points. I think it's about communication, and I think it's about honest communication with a client. I think secondly, it's about relationships and having the relationships so that one can be honest with a client. I think common sense often comes into play with this. Good planning, but then also not being afraid to engage with somebody like yourself when advice of an expert is sought. And I suppose the last point for me, and this is not surprising, cash flow is key. So, you know, I think a number of takeaways from my side listening to the session this afternoon. So thank you again. Okay, yeah, people are saying thank you, Richard. So that's very good. From an institute perspective, before we close and we get on with our afternoons, can I just remind all attendees that we run at the moment a range of online CPD, and we will continue to run CPD online for the foreseeable future. Yes, hopefully things are changing, and we are returning, as I said at the beginning, to a new form of normality. But CPD, whether it be through webinar or whether it be through meetings, we will continue to run. The next national branch meetings are on the 27th of April and on the 12th of May. The next tax series runs on the 11th, 18th and 25th of May. In those sessions, we're covering a range of tax topics, from the domestic reverse charge, tax disputes, share schemes and equity incentives, company share purchase, as well as we have somebody from HMRC joining us to provide an update on MTD. There are a couple of charity related webinars, one on the 6th of May and the second after that on the 3rd of June. There is also a series in June that we're calling Developing Your Practice. So for anybody in practice, whether you've been in practice maybe 18 months, 2 years, maybe you've been in practice 5, 10, 15, 20 years, but are looking at the future and how you want to take things forward, that series runs on the 10th, 17th and 24th of June. Details for that will be posted on the website shortly. A lot of the CPD that we provide, I would hope, is of a technical nature, whether it be accounting treatment, whether it be tax, whether it be insolvency, whether it be AML, whether it be fraud, and other related topics, technology being another. But I want to draw everybody's attention to a two-part webinar series we're running on the 22nd and the 29th of April. It's all about well-being. This, on a personal and a business level, has been a difficult 12, 13, 14 months. We appreciate that our members, whether they be in business or in practice, have probably been snowed under, and that might be an understatement. But your clients, those self-employed, sole traders, micro, smaller business entities, have probably felt the pressures as well. Well-being and having those conversations needs to be raised, not only in one's personal life, in my opinion, but also in business life. We have a speaker for those 2 sessions who comes with a very personal story about well-being and mental health, as well as being able to provide some very good insight, some tools and some tips as to how you look after yourself, but how you might look after others. So it might not be of a technical nature, but I would strongly advise anybody to register for that wellbeing series, the 22nd and the 29th of April. Please, your staff, colleagues, acquaintances, don't have to be an accountant, a tax professional, a finance professional to take part and hopefully gain some benefit from those 2 webinars. As well as the national branch meetings, April sees all of the local branch online surgeries come back to life. We had Bristol in the southwest yesterday afternoon. We have London at 4 o'clock this afternoon, Yorkshire and Scotland tomorrow, Manchester on Thursday. Going into next week, there's Crawley on the 20th, Milton Keynes and High Wycombe on the 20th, Essex on the 21st, Northern Ireland on the 22nd, and the Midlands on the 28th of April. They are events not only for people still to learn and to gain valuable insight, but they're an opportunity for local networking, for people who were used to seeing each other face to face at branch events to actually see somebody online. They've proved to be very popular over the last 12 months and is one of the major reasons why we continue to run them. Please support them, please register, please get involved. And we look forward to seeing you on those over the course of the remainder of April. The website, please use the Institute's website. Please do look at the member benefits only area. And please do look at the digital platform, www.financialaccountant.co.uk, for a host of very valuable content and valuable information. I'll just finish off today by thanking everybody for attending, but a special thanks to Richard. Thank you very much indeed. Very insightful, very informative, a lot covered. So Richard, thank you for joining us and supporting us as always.
Thank you, everyone.
To everybody, no, thank you. To everybody, stay safe, keep well. Look forward to seeing you again soon, and everybody have a good afternoon. We will send the slides and a recording at the beginning of next week. Thank you all. Keep well.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.